Hey, welcome to the Positivity in Pregnancy and Motherhood podcast. My name is Jocelyn, mom of 5, and I am excited to be here with you sharing what I have learned in pregnancy and motherhood, and just hopefully we can grow together and learn to enjoy pregnancy and motherhood a lot better by shifting our thoughts. I have found that changing what I was thinking about pregnancy made pregnancy quite a bit better. I have found that shifting by what I was thinking in motherhood has made motherhood quite a bit better and more enjoyable and something I want to do rather than a drudgery task of staying home and raising the kids. It's something I want to do. And it has been a journey. It has been a process. And what I have learned, I strive to share here on the podcast to help you out to find more positivity in these areas of your life and in your motherhood. I hope that you implement them and try to get better at them. They're all simple tasks, simple things that you can do in thought and sometimes action to help you move forward in these things. And I really hope that it helps you. If you want to join my community, I have a Facebook page and group called Pregnancy is Hard, and coming soon is going to be a Instagram page. I don't know why, but I have been terrified of doing Instagram for a while. It still kind of seems really daunting, but that is something I really feel that is the next step God wants me to start sharing some information is on Instagram. So I hope you'll join there, and I will be giving you more information about that in coming weeks, about the name and where to find me, and I hope that you'll join me there. Hi, I'm Jocelyn, host of the Positive in Pregnancy and Motherhood podcast. I help pregnant women and mothers to find positivity in their season of life through changing their thoughts to work for them and not against them. I help mothers find the small, doable steps in thought and action without making drastic changes to their everyday mom life, and I can help you. Thanks for joining. Hey mama, so if you have been listening this summer, you know that I'm kind of taking this summer to focus a little bit on newborn care. I have a baby that at the time of this recording is 2 months old, and I have been reminded a lot of things when it comes to newborn care. So in last week's episode, I talked about the first 24 hours with a newborn, kind of what you can expect with baby, and some of the things that happen with your body, because there are some unique things that happen within the first 24 hours of birth for baby and mom. So if you want more details on that, I encourage you to go back a week and listen to that. Today, I wanted to talk about nursing tips for those mamas who have decided to nurse. I definitely would encourage nursing. I think it's a good thing. Today, we're not going to talk about necessarily the benefits, although there's tons of benefits, more tips on how to nurse and how to make it go a little smoother, things that can help that I have learned after having 5 babies and attempting to nurse them all, which I successfully did for all of them, at least up to, I nursed all of them most of them for a year and a couple for only 8 months or so. Nonetheless, in that amount of time, I have learned a couple of things that I wanted to share today. As you've probably found out, pregnancy might have been harder than you expected, and it was not the walk in the park and probably the beautiful thing that you hoped it would be. It was probably difficult, had moments where you were doubting why you did this and why pregnancy is so hard, and you probably really struggled. And I'm going to tell you, heads up, because it's just better to prepare for it, that nursing can be very difficult at first. You think that things will just happen naturally and it will be easy and things will flow, but that often is not the case when it comes to figuring things out. My first baby was very difficult because he was a NICU baby, and so I didn't really get to nurse him for quite a few weeks, actually. I will talk about that, about nursing a NICU baby in another episode. But nonetheless, I'm going to give you tips. So the first thing that I want to bring up, which isn't a tip, but something that I really noticed this time, was that when you first nurse in the hospital, your body so you're kind of bleeding a lot. And when you nurse, you kind of get those like nursing cramps. Nursing can actually help release like your uterus back to normal size. But whenever I would nurse him at first, those first couple days in the hospital, it was a little painful. Like I felt crampy. I almost felt like blood was being released as I nursed him, and I bled a lot more than I remembered. So that's just something to keep in mind when you are first nursing, that it might be not just painful on your nipples and having that baby suck all the time, but it can be painful down there with having some nursing cramps and the bleeding that comes with that. So that's not a tip, just something I remembered that I wanted to share with you. The first tip, though, is to get a good latch. So when you have a baby, you're probably not used to someone sucking on your nipples that much or that hard. Maybe your husband has done it, but I'm pretty sure he probably does not do it as much as a baby is going to need to do it. And nonetheless, it can make your nipples very, very sore. And it can be almost painful for those first couple days with how sore it can get. So make sure to get a good latch. And the best way to get a good latch is to kind of squeeze your breasts together so that it's more, there's more of an area for the baby's mouth to go on. And sometimes I would even pull the baby's mouth open wide as I pushed that part that I was squeezing together into the baby's mouth. So I'd hold his head with one hand. If I could reach around to his mouth to open his chin, I would do that. If he was propped on a pillow, it was a little easier because then I wouldn't have to hold the back of his head. And then you can open the bottom of his mouth, just gently pull the chin open, squeeze your breast, and put it in as far as you can to help the baby get a good latch. This is key because if they don't get a good latch and they just suck on that nipple part, it's going to hurt even worse. And you'll probably feel it when you get a good latch. Now, it sounds simple when I talk about it in this episode that, getting a good latch, doing what you explained won't be so bad. But it takes practice. It doesn't always go as easy as, just kind of squeeze your breast together and then put the baby's mouth in. It does take a little practice. Give yourself grace. Just breathe when you get frustrated. Sometimes maybe just if the baby's not latching good and they're not overly hungry, maybe take a little bit of a break. But getting a good latch is definitely key. So the next tip that I would say with nursing is to do your best to give your baby full meals. Now, what does that mean to have a full meal? That means that they don't fall asleep while nursing, that they will stay awake while nursing so that they eat a full meal. And I call it full meals even though it's just drinking. But if they get a full meal, they won't snack. So snacking, in my opinion, is eating less than every 2 hours. So as a newborn, there will be times where you need to feed them a little more often, and they might take longer stretches for like that first week or two. But after that, I would say do your best to get full meals. So my tip for getting full meals is I would nurse the baby on one side, and if he starts to fall asleep, he or she, in this case I had a boy with this last baby, so I will probably refer to it as a he, but no, it works for he or she's. Anyways, so I was talking about full meals. Nurse the baby on one side for, your 10 or 15 minutes. And if they get tired, I would usually tickle the bottom of their jawline with my other hand. Just kind of rub your hand along the jawline to wake them up, or tickle their toes, kind of jostle their body, like not jostle hard, but move their body a little bit to re-wake them up. And since they're so lethargic at first, I would usually do a diaper change in between sides, because a diaper change is a great way to wake up a baby. You take their clothes off, they maybe get a little cold, you open the diaper, put a cold wipe on it, or a room temperature wipe that's not very warm. It definitely wakes the baby up, and then they can usually nurse on the other side pretty good. But I can't remember where I learned this or what book or podcast or something I learned this from, but it helped me so much to have those 2 to 3 hour breaks. And I would just mentally keep track of how often they had eaten. So if I fed him at 9, I would mentally say, okay, he's going to be hungry around 11 to noon. So anywhere from 11 to noon, I'm going to be ready to feed him. And sometimes if he seems hungry earlier, I will try my best to do the binky so that he is very hungry when it comes to that next meal and he'll eat the full meal. That was a huge thing that made a big difference for me in successfully nursing. The third tip is kind of a rhythm. So there's kind of routines that we can have in our lives, something that you do the same time every day. Maybe you brush your teeth after breakfast every single day. Maybe you brush your teeth right before bed every single day. You're kind of going to have rhythms with the baby. So the rhythm that I have liked and I have learned has worked best for adjusting to newborn, for getting used to that schedule, is to do eat, wake, sleep. So say you feed your baby at 9 o'clock, you want to do your best to try and keep them awake for a little while. And that will be their wake time. And then after they've been awake for a little bit, you can let them go to sleep. And then when they wake back up, if it's been like your 2 hours, you do the eat again. Eat, stay awake, sleep. And that's kind of a routine or a rhythm that helps me to know what my baby needs. And if you consistently do that with your baby, this would even work with a bottle-fed baby, you kind of know what's going on. So if he ate at 10 o'clock this time, and around, let's say he's pretty new, and around 10:30, 10:45, 11ish, somewhere in there, depending on how long the baby stayed awake, he's starting to get fussy, you know that he's likely getting tired. He's probably not hungry because you just fed him less than an hour ago. He's probably getting tired. And so you lay him down. And then after nap, maybe he's fussy and it may be time to eat. Just sticking to that routine and having that consistency helped me to know what my baby needed and what might be the matter, why they might be sad or upset. Maybe it was, and it just depends on where you're at in that eat, wake, sleep cycle. I also learned that from somewhere, but it also has been so nice to know what I think my baby might need and how to help my baby. Because sometimes if your schedule and your planning is a little crazy and hectic, you might not know what your baby needs. You may be trying to feed them again when they're not hungry, then they won't eat good, and you get frustrated because your milk comes down and you get full, and it can just cause a lot of complications and annoyances when it comes to that. So just trying to get that schedule down. Now, the first 2 weeks is hard because the baby's days and nights are mixed up, and this schedule will be tough, but I say keep trying at it. I remember one time I nursed the baby in the hospital, and he just went right back to sleep for a long time, and it was so hard to wake him up. Like almost after 3.5 hours, he was not waking no matter, even when I changed his bum. So just give yourself grace. Know that those first 2 weeks are a little different, but after that, it can be a little easier to get into a rhythm and a routine. My fourth tip has to do with engorgement. So after your colostrum, your milk comes in, and it also can be very painful because your breast can fill up with milk, and it can be almost too much to where the baby doesn't do good with with how much your breasts are producing. They can't physically drink it all. And so you've got this extra milk in your breasts. And if you have, I'm talking really fast, I'm sorry. I just am so excited because I've redone and relearned all of this. I'll try and talk a little slower though. To deal with that engorgement though and to regulate your breast. So it depends on how much milk you want. So if you plan on getting a lot of milk in your freezer, after your baby nurses, I would just pump what's left and then freeze it all. If you're trying to regulate to where you don't have to pump after, you're going to want your breast to go a little bit longer than pumping every time. Because breast milk is like supply and demand. If there's a lot of demand, meaning a lot of sucking or a lot of pumping, your breasts are going to keep up with that demand and keep producing that much. But if you start like sucking or pumping less, if that makes sense, it will supply less. So note that as you're going, that if you pump more, your breasts are going to produce more. So if you want to regulate that, maybe pump only 2 minutes after feeding the baby to take the edge off, and then do that every time until you can just break it down to less and less and less. Now this took me a couple of weeks to get down, maybe even 3 weeks, because I was very engorged at first. I also did want some freezer milk. But it took a while for me to figure out how to regulate it to where the baby had the right amount, that I wasn't like overproducing and having too much milk. So be patient with that it can take some time. As your breasts fill up, it can be painful. They will be much bigger, and just be patient is definitely something I would encourage. Giving yourself grace is huge when it comes to nursing, because like I say, it's an adjustment, but it is so good for you and baby. In the future, I'm going to do another episode on the benefits of nursing. But I am also a big proponent of teaching your baby to take a bottle. That's why I wanted some freezer milk, because it is nice to have some freedom to where you can go somewhere if your baby is used to taking a bottle. But if your baby won't take a bottle, you're kind of latched to the baby, which women like that and prefer that. But I wanted both. So I did a bottle a day, and I will do a different episode on that because this is getting a little full. This episode's getting a little longer than I usually like to do. Anyways, yeah, I'll talk about doing both in another episode so I can move on to the next tip. And that is to mentally prepare yourself for nursing. Mentally prepare yourself that it will be hard, your breasts will get sore, that the baby won't be good at it all the time, and that you can work together to do it. But when you do, it is so special and so amazing. There is an endorphin released when you nurse. I'm pretty sure it's called oxytocin. And it's like called the love hormone, and it just makes you love that baby so much. As you nurse them, you're like, oh, I just love you. And it is so tender and so special that you get to nurse this baby, and that you're doing something hard again. Pregnancy was hard, nursing is hard, but it also has a lot of benefits. Weight loss is one of those benefits. Anyways, I had a story that I was going to tell, but I think I'm going to do that next week because I apparently got a little long-winded today about how I got very discouraged in nursing this time. And it's my 5th baby. You think I would know how to be patient with myself and baby. But it was very hard. So stay tuned next week. I'll probably tell that story and maybe talk about some benefits of nursing, and also stay tuned for more reasons on why I do a bottle and how to go about doing that. Anyways, thank you for listening. Thank you for applying these tips into your life. Thank you for trying in this motherhood, in pregnancy, and in nursing to try and do better. Because as you do, you change the world and your family. Worlds are changed through mothers at home, and you are one of those special mothers of God's. He loves you, and He wants you to succeed in pregnancy, in nursing, and in motherhood. Thank you for listening. Until next time. So I was planning to end the episode there, but I decided I wanted to give you a summary on what I've talked about today, so that you don't have to go back and listen to the whole thing to remember. But the first was to get a good latch. The second was to work on getting full meals for your baby. The third was to work on the eat, wake, sleep rhythm in your baby, or when working with your baby. The fourth tip was on engorgement and pumping. And the fifth tip was to mentally prepare yourself for nursing and giving yourself grace during this special, unique, and albeit difficult sometimes, moment of motherhood. Thank you for being a part of the Positive in Pregnancy and Motherhood podcast, for listening, for sharing, and most of all, for applying these tools into your own life to improve your own happiness so that you can find your own better thoughts for a better you in a positive pregnancy, in losing that stubborn baby weight, and becoming the mom you desire to be through taking small steps in thought and action to reach your goals. If you are a mother who has an inner desire to enjoy motherhood and pregnancy better, but you are having difficulty figuring it out, I can help you. I can help you find the small, doable steps without drastic changes to your everyday mom life. Reach out, let's connect, and let's see you move forward. My name is Jocelyn, and I thank you for listening. Until next time.